Hi, I'm Bootsy Battle-Holt. I am a National Board Certified middle school math teacher at Marina Del Rey Middle School. I'm also an LAUSD 2016-2017 Teacher of the Year, as well as an LA County Teacher of the Year. And thank you for giving me a chance to answer your questions. So I'll just start with question number one, which is what my life is like as a teacher. So, um, you know, lots of times people think that teachers work a short 6 hour day, but we actually, I think I'm typical of many teachers, that I show up in my classroom before 7 o'clock every morning. I wake up about 5:30 and my family and I get ready. I take my own kids to the bus stop and then I go into my classroom and I spend the first part of my day sort of preparing all my lessons for the day. I make any copies or cut out anything that we will be using. I get out any manipulatives or any kind of things that my students will be working with throughout the day and set up my classroom in the morning. And then at a little after 8, then the kids come in and we get started. So I have 6 classes a day. I teach 4 different classes of math, but some of them I teach more than once throughout the day. So I teach 6 different classes a day. That's about 200 kids that I have come through my classroom every single day. And, we love math. We do math all day. We, learn all different kinds of the curriculum, of course, and so from a little after 8 until a little after 3, it is, let's see, my 7th graders do math 7, math 8. I have an accelerated 7 class for my honors 7 kids, and also an algebra 1 class for my advanced 8th graders. So that's what my day looks like until the bell rings. And then after school, I do, first I have to clean the classroom. I think most teachers never point that out, but after 200 kids go through the classroom, you got to clean your classroom up every single day, straighten up the papers, kind of set it up for the next day. We're grading and sort of realigning what we're going to do moving forward based on how the kids did each day, sort of taking an assessment of how the day went. And on several days, I have other things that I do after school, like I coach the academic pentathlon team. Sometimes I have education policy meetings. Sometimes I have meetings at the school site. I'm on the instructional leadership team. So we are planning professional development for the whole entire school, for all the teachers of the school. I'm also on local school leadership. So that means that we're doing all kinds of things like special schedules or assemblies or any kind of special things that benefit our kids. So even though the school day ends a little after 3, I'm usually there till about 4:30 or 5, and take those papers home to grade for the day, go home, spend time with my family, and start all over again the next day. So that's what a typical day is like for me. Let's see, the second question. Well, who inspired me to become a teacher? I have an interesting teacher story because my grandmother was a public school teacher in New York City. And my mom was a public school teacher in Oakland, California. And so I kind of thought, I'm not going to become a teacher because that's what people expect of me. And when you're young, you want to do something unexpected. So actually, out of college, I was a history major and I worked in a different field for a little while before I had kids of my own. And when my own daughter was in kindergarten, I started volunteering in her classroom and I realized how much I really loved working with children. And so I was volunteering as like a reading buddy, helping kids learn how to read, and just doing things throughout the classroom in her kindergarten. And I was inspired to go back and get my teaching credential, which I did right after that. And so I've never looked back. It was the best decision I ever made. I've been in the classroom ever since. It's been a little more than a decade, and I still love it. Something about my job that I never expected. Well, one thing I never expected was that teaching lent itself to so much creativity. So when you're a kid in a classroom or even a parent or someone looking from the outside in, it looks like, teachers get a bunch of books and they just start at the beginning of the book and end at the end of the book. And, that's kind of far from the truth because we do get a curriculum, but there's so much that we can add to the curriculum, and that's what's exciting. I teach at a performing arts magnet school. Actually, half of our school is performing arts magnet, and the other half is Marine Science Academy. And so I teach most of my classes. I have students from both sides of our campus, but most of my classes are with the performing arts magnet. And so the kids who come for that program dance and sing and act and just love to be creative. So I try to really infuse that kind of energy into my classroom. On any given day, you can find kids, writing a math rap or creating artwork to go with the math problems that we're doing, or creating a little dance or a couple of hand movements to help them remember how to do things, how to do procedures in math. Also, our class is like very, very discussion based. So sometimes people think that math is, just people with their heads down crunching numbers. But our kids discuss. I think, a lot of the skills that they learn in the math class are skills that apply to life, like being able to discuss things and being able to assess problems and being able to, create an argument for what it is that they're doing. So there's a lot of creativity in teaching, and particularly in teaching math, and I think that that's unexpected, and it's something that I really love about my job. Do I have a special passion? Let's see, outside of the classroom, one thing that I love to do is go to museums. I've always loved artwork. And I used to go to I've been going to museums all the time, my whole life. My mom, I used to take me to museums, but actually an interesting thing about that is that even though I've always enjoyed walking through museums and looking at various works of art, it was actually on a field trip, not so many years ago, that I took my students to the Getty Center Museum, and the docent who was giving us a student tour talk to my students about how to look at the details in a piece of artwork, and how you can look at the tiniest little things and get a big piece of the story. And that field trip was inspiring for the kids, but it was also really inspiring for me. And it took something that I always loved to do, which is go to museums and look at art, and it took it to a whole new level. Now, maybe almost a totally crazy level, because now when I go to museums, sometimes people are like, "You've been at that art piece for so long, can we move on?" But I'm just really fascinated by all the tiny little things that go into art. So I love going to museums. I love looking at art from all different time periods and really thinking about how we're connected to artists and people from different times. Let's see, where do I find my strength? Well, I find my strength from, it might be cliche, but I find my strength from my family. I have two amazing teenagers of my own, and a husband who is supportive. He is like a rock, he's just always there for me. I have a great support system at home, and my parents, who are still around, are great. They live still up in Northern California, but they come down and visit all the time. And I just feel like I'm so blessed with a family that's a real cheerleading section for me. So whatever I'm pursuing, whatever I'm doing, I always know that, they're cheering me on. And so that's where I find my strength from. Let's see. Something no one would know by looking at me. Well, that's an interesting question, but I would say that no one would know that I was a competitive ice skater growing up. So I used to compete in ice skating throughout my whole entire childhood. I skated with the skating club up in Northern California, and I used to wake up really early every single morning and skate for about an hour and a half before school. And then after school, I'd go back to the skating rink and skate for about 3 more hours before I went home and did homework and ate dinner and went to bed. So skating was just a humongous part of my life growing up. I still love to skate once in a while. I don't get to go very often, but I love to go and skate. I go once in a while. And I'm still friends with lots of the people who I skated with who were part of my skating world when I was growing up. So that's something that people don't know about me necessarily unless they know me from that part of my life. But those who know me as an adult and as a mom and as a teacher don't necessarily know that I was a competitive ice skater for many, many years when I was a child. Let's see. Little things that let me know that I'm doing a good job. So, one thing that I love is there is a universal sound that children make when the neurons connect and they go, oh. And I just love that sound. So all the time when I'm teaching a lesson, kids are working on things and I'm going from table to table and working with from group to group. And, sometimes kids are really stumped and they're discussing things and trying to work it out. And then they say, Miss Holt, how does this work? And, and then I show them and there's this voice that's like, oh. And it's like that connection where all of a sudden they went from not knowing something to knowing something. And that's so super satisfying. I love that when I hear that sound. Other things that let me know I'm doing a good job. So my students are really cute. Sometimes I'll, just be going about my business and turn around and see like little notes on the whiteboard where the kids say like, Miss Holt is the greatest, or we love you, Miss Holt, or math class is fun, or all these little cute notes that kids write on the whiteboard, or sometimes draw me pictures, or, create my name in bubble letters or things like that. So all those things are really rewarding. It's like the tiny things that make a huge difference and make this job so much fun. Let's see. My family and friends. So, I already kind of talked a little bit about my family and where I find my strength. But, again, I have a great supportive husband and really fabulous teenagers. My own two kids are super smart and super creative and just so much fun to hang out with and be around. So I'm fortunate for that. I also mentioned that my parents are very supportive. They're around, and I have one brother who is great, and is always there for me. A great ear to listen and someone to lean on when I want to bounce ideas. My friends, well, I have some people who I keep in touch with for my whole life, but I have some really close friends like my good friend Wendy, who I first met when I moved to LA to go to UCLA. And we've been friends for many, many years. And she's just like a super mom. She's someone who, is like the PTA president at her kid's school and runs all kinds of like groups for the kids. She volunteers with a children's cancer organization. So, my best friend Wendy is great. And another friend who I count on a lot is my friend Catherine. We've been friends since we were children. And Catherine has a job with a major hotel chain, and so she's just traveling the world all the time, and she goes all over the place. And I'm lucky that sometimes she brings me like really cool things from all over the world, which is amazing. But she's another person who just really, really knows me. Like, she's known me forever, so she just kind of knows everything about me. And so Catherine and I go way back. I don't know. I have a lot of mom friends. So, a lot of people who I've just shared my mom journey with, like my good friend Julie, who we have daughters who are the same age, and we kind of met when they were babies, and, we've shared our parenting journey together. And then I guess I also have a lot of colleagues who I just love to be around. So other teachers at the school, I teach with some really, really smart, creative, and fun people to be around. And so, we share all the trials and tribulations of being in the classroom, and also get a chance to laugh a lot together. So what made me laugh today? Um, Gosh, well, it's a weekend, and so one thing I guess that made me laugh was telling my story to you. But also, I don't know, it's the first day that I've gotten to sleep in for a really long time. So I guess that's maybe not a laugh, that's more of a smile because I've had a very, very busy couple of weeks. And yesterday I certainly had a lot of laughs. I took my academic pentathlon team to a competition, and and so when they were doing the super quiz part, which is the kids are three at a time, they go down to the main floor and they compete in the super quiz. And the thing that really made me laugh about that was that I was sitting in the stands with the kids who weren't competing at the time, and the cheers and the little dances that they made up to support their teammates were hilarious and so much fun. I mean, we just had such a great time just cheering each other on and just celebrating how smart and fun and how cool it was to be at an academic competition. So, yeah, so certainly I got a lot of laughs yesterday with my students. Yeah, let's see. So, a moment when life wasn't perfect. What do I do with life's daily challenges? Well, actually, I can just refer to something that happened just this past weekend, this past week, which is I was having a really, really, really busy week. And my parents were visiting from out of town, and I had to go up to Sacramento to talk to some of our state legislators about an assembly bill that was coming up on Tuesday. So even though my parents were in town, I was flying out of town. Also, it was a really busy week. We're sort of in the last bit of curriculum before we start preparing for state testing in the class. So there's that going on. As I said, academic pentathlon was this weekend, so I was preparing those kids, which also includes like getting a whole bunch of paperwork together for all of that. So I think, this week was a really challenging week, but one thing that I do to get through life's challenges is that I just really sort of believe in like the idea of appreciating every single moment. So even when things are hard, sometimes people are like, oh, I wish it was Friday already, or I wish that this day was just over, that kind of thing. But my philosophy is like, I just appreciate every single day. And even when things are hard, that's part of life. And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that gets me through, is just being able to really be thankful for every single day. So that's question number 10. And so thank you for watching my video. And I don't know. Bye.